Let me change to this slide and welcome everybody. Let you know that you're in the right place. This is Electrify Your Ride, a Zoom event hosted by Drive Clean Bay Area. Now, Drive Clean is a nonprofit collaboration committed to clean air, a cool planet, and a healthy future for all. Our goal is to keep fossil fuels in the ground. Switching from a gas car to an electric vehicle means no tailpipe emissions. It means saving time and money while enjoying unparalleled driving performance. You're going to hear about that when you get a chance to talk to some EV owners. In any case, it's likely that one or all of these reasons is why you're here. Whether you are a knowledgeable veteran owner of EVs or new to electric vehicles, there is a lot here for you today. Now, our agenda includes an electric vehicle overview with Drive Clean's founder, Carleen Cullen, breakout rooms guided by EV and e-bike owners and experts, up-to-date news on batteries and renewable energy, details on Drive Clean's preferred pricing program, where you can qualify for a reduced price on some of the most popular electric vehicles today. We're going to have breakout rooms where you can ask an owner and get virtual tours of vehicles, and a closing Q&A if you have any unanswered questions. Speaking of questions, you can ask questions via chat. If you're new to Zoom, that's where you just click on the word chat in the bottom of your Zoom window. Please note that this event is being recorded, and the recording will be available soon after the event is over. I want you all to keep in mind too that this will be a fast-paced and hopefully satisfying investment of your time. So we ask you to limit questions to the chat window until the closing session Q&A. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Carleen Cullen. In 2006, when Carleen and her husband Jeff co-founded Cool the Earth, the parent company of Drive Clean Bay Area, they didn't know exactly what the future held. They would fight global climate change and help others do the same. But what did that mean? They began by offering education and action programs for kids, families, and schools. In the years that followed, Cool the Earth motivated 300,000 energy-saving actions by more than 500,000 school children and family members in 31 states. Thanks to their efforts, 37 million pounds of carbon are in the ground instead of in the atmosphere. Now, fast forward to 2018, when Drive Clean was born. And here now to take over the story is Carleen Cullen.
It sounds like such a lead up. I'm like, it's going to be really disappointing after that. Hi, everyone. I'm Carleen. Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming. Let me first of all say thank you to the many volunteers that are helping us with this program this evening. It's our first entry into the world of Zoom meetings and working on EV education. So thanks to the team and all the volunteers, and also to our sponsor for this, which is Transportation Authority of Marin. So that's terrific. Thanks, everyone. So I thought it would be appropriate to just, we're in this massive crisis, and if we could all just take a moment to, moment of silence for a second to think of people who've lost so much and are going through so many struggles. Okay, so, people look at electric vehicles for a number of reasons, and many people look at electric vehicles because of their impact on climate change. Some people look at electric vehicles because of their clean air, no tailpipe emissions. Same for e-bikes. People oftentimes are looking to reduce or eliminate their car's emissions. And some people are here because they've heard about the joys of driving electric. Every time I get into my electric vehicle, my family, we've been driving electric for 7 years. I haven't been to a gas station in 7 years, and the cars are, fantastic. They're fun to drive. They're clean. They're quiet. They're awesome performance. So we want to talk about today some of the details about what does it look like to drive electric. Some people are here because they just don't want to give their money to big oil anymore, and all that entails as well. So just a couple of facts. I want to begin the evening because why we are here is because we want to have a cool climate and clean air. And 42% of all the petroleum in the United States is consumed by passenger vehicles. So, and 40% of our carbon footprint in Marin County is caused by tailpipe emissions. So it's huge numbers, and there's just absolutely no way we're going to get to, to our goals collectively if we continue driving, combusting gasoline. The good news is there's a better way. This is not one of these situations that feels endless and there's no hope and there's no opportunity. The good news is we actually have the solutions today. We have renewable energy and we have battery electric vehicles. Today's vehicles, we say go far. Most of the new vehicles come out now over 200 miles range. When a lot of us started driving, we were, in our Leafs driving 80 miles, and that felt a little bit precarious. But now with 200 plus miles, it's, they just go far. And so far, as Kevin mentioned, my husband and I drove across country on July 1st in our Tesla Model 3, and we even camped in it. So if you come to the Tesla room, I'll tell you about that. So that's one experience of going far. My family also has a Kia Niro EV, which is actually my favorite car on the market. That's another story. But electric vehicles, there's been this quiet revolution of charging. People think, oh, it's going to take me 18 hours to charge my car. And that used to be the case. But now you can fast charge 5 to 7 times faster than even 2 years ago. So it's really amazing. You get 75 miles in about 10 minutes. So most of the times we refill with either vehicle, it's around 25 minutes. And that's really very occasionally when we take a road trip. Also, prices have come down. Lithium-ion batteries the prices have dropped 85% in 8 years, and that's going to continue. So it makes these vehicles with these high range accessible to a lot more people. On the e-bike side, so I've been driving an electric bike for 2 years, and it's actually my favorite electric vehicle. I have no problem going over hills. I take the back roads. I don't worry about the amount of time it's going to take or the hills at all. Commuting, shopping, it's fantastic. And I think it's a real game changer as well. So where does this all leave us? We have solutions. We have a mega crisis on our hands that's multifaceted, but this is something we can do something about. And at this point, it's not really about if electrification of transportation is going to happen. It's really about when. And when is the critical issue. If we switch to electrification of transportation in 10 years or 15 years, it's not good enough. We can do it now, and this is the time to do so. My number one takeaway that I hope you all will take away from this is we have solutions. And if you are looking at a new car, that you just avoid buying or leasing a new combustion vehicle, because that's going to be on the road 12 or 15 years. So if you just, for whatever reason, an EV or an e-bike doesn't suit where you're at right now, and you need a new car, I really urge you to look at a used combustion vehicle or a used EV, because that's our path to sustainability. So I wanted to, I have 2 co-hosts with me today. And I wanted to pass this along to Cory Bytoff. And Cory, if you could introduce yourself, that would be great.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Great.
A little late.
I have a not very good phone cord here. But I'm the Sustainability Program Manager for the City of San Rafael. My job is to implement our Climate Action Plan. Our Climate Action Plan is mainly about greenhouse gas emissions reductions. We updated it last year. The first one was done in 2008. And last year we updated it to meet the state targets, which are, scientists said that we needed to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050 in order to stave off the worst effects of climate change. They've updated it since then, but the state has us on some pretty aggressive targets to try to get to that point long term. And the newest one is to reduce emissions by 40% by 2030. And what I'd like to do is to give people a real visceral sense of that by thinking about your life. And have you ever tried to reduce anything in your life 40%? Your budget, maybe for your business, anything, your food intake, it's not going to be easy, right? And this is embedded in our culture and in our economy. So it's going to be very challenging. And then I like to ask people, so the city of San Rafael has this mandate now to reduce greenhouse gas emissions community-wide by 40%. What percentage of those emissions do you think are caused by the city government? We have a dozen facilities or more. We've got 100 vehicles. We've got big earth movers. We've got streetlights all over San Rafael. What percentage do you think? Just hold that in your mind for a second. Take a guess. It's less than 1%. So our mandate is to reduce emissions 40% throughout San Rafael, but we only have control, direct control over 1%. So what does that mean? What that means is that everybody needs to be involved. We need to find ways to encourage, cajole, mandate, do whatever we need to do to make sure that you, me, everybody that lives here does their part, or we're never going to meet our greenhouse gas emissions reductions. So individual action is big. Most people believe in climate change and believe we need to do something about it. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? What action am I taking? And as Carleen pointed out, passenger vehicles are a majority of our greenhouse gas emissions. And so one fast, easy way, or one way that we can do that is to radically change the way that we get around, whether that's taking the bus, walking, riding a bike, using your e-bike. If you have to drive a lot, if you switch to an EV, you're going to dramatically reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. So imagine your own carbon footprint and having to reduce it 40%. If a huge percentage of your greenhouse gas emissions are because you drive a lot, switching to an EV is going to be one way that you can contribute toward that 40% reduction like that. So get an EV or an e-bike, then do it right. Make sure you plug into clean electricity. If you can have solar on your building, then you're powering clean. Charge during the day, because that's when we have all the renewables on the grid. If you charge in the middle of the night, we're doing a lot of natural gas and you don't really want to be driving around a natural gas vehicle. So plug it in during the day. And then tell your friends and carpool a lot too. If you want to learn more, we have a website called sanrafaelclimateaction.org. We kind of wrote the newest climate action plan. Most of the other Marin cities and towns are taking it and using it as a template for their emissions reductions targets as well. And so you can learn a lot about, even if you don't live in San Rafael, actions you can take, and there's lots of resources there. And you'll also recognize somebody as a climate action role model. You'll see Annika on there with her dog and her EV as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Cory. So Marin County is really fortunate to have Cory as a sustainability leader for San Rafael and for the county. Definitely the lead voice in the county. So we're super appreciative of all of his talents and efforts. So Liore, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, so happily. I'm honored to be here. My name is Liore Milgrom-Gartner, and I'm with California Interfaith Power and Light, working here in the Bay Area and in all of Northern California, working with people and and people and communities of conscience to respond to the climate crisis. It has never felt more real than it is today. And kind of both, actually, everyone spoke about the climate realities around our way that we get around, but also, and we feel it here in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, in Marin. But I'm here to talk a little bit just for a moment about the larger reality of climate and air impacts from the way that we choose to get around. Not only does this show up with our actual tailpipes, and we know that the way that infrastructure has been developed is that those of the fewest resources and those on the front lines have the heaviest burden, literally the heaviest burden from our bad air. And those are where our folks are the sickest and are dealing with air quality on a regular basis. We've been getting tastes of it in our bodies over these last weeks here in the Bay Area. But communities who live by our freeways know it every day. And so with that in mind, as we choose, like what we choose to drive impacts the people from around. And this also is true around climate, that those disadvantaged communities are the front lines around the climate impacts. And as we've been seeing with the turn of the economy, and maybe we're reminded of our neighbors across the bay, where there are so many oil refineries. And so for those communities too, it was talked beautifully about just kind of not wanting to give our dollars to big oil. It's not just to this theoretical big oil, it is to infrastructure and refineries and in drilling sites that are also being proposed in the East Bay, right? Literally our neighbors. And so it is amazing. It is amazing and mind-boggling to think, as Cory referenced, that one action can be so significant. It can reduce our own emissions enormously. It can make the air for ourselves and for our neighbors better, and can be part of transitioning our economy and our infrastructure to a cleaner future. So that is all I am here to talk about. And this is a journey. It is a journey to figure out how you too can participate in a cleaner future for all of us. And with the great conversations about the vehicles and the fun that you get to have on zooming around in electric vehicles, on electric bikes. So thank you for being part of this journey with us.
Great. Thank you, Liore. Excellent. So it's kind of funny, when I think back several years ago, and I never really honestly cared that much about cars, it's just like, that was just some way to get around. It didn't really matter to me. I was super enthusiastic about CFLs and LEDs and reusable water bottles. So pretty much anything that came along that offered, the next move to reduce emissions was fantastic. And it just happens to be that electric vehicles, e-bikes, and renewable energy is just a massive opportunity. So here we are, knowing a lot about e-bikes and EVs. So Annika, I wanted to turn it over to you to talk about highlight some of the vehicles that are available.
Great, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I'm Annika Osborn. I'm with Cool the Earth and Drive Clean Bay Area. I wanna welcome you all here today. And we'd like to thank again our sponsor, Transportation Authority of Marin, for helping make this happen. Our guest presenters from City of San Rafael and California Interfaith Power and Light, and our promoting partners, Marin Interfaith Climate Action and Resilient Neighborhoods. Sorry. So now that we know why it's important to electrify your ride, let's take a look at some electric cars and e-bikes that are available today and some that are coming soon. Note that there are incentives and rebates up to $11,300 on most of these vehicles. So the good news is that with over 50 EVs available today, there's an EV for every lifestyle. EVs offer an enhanced driving experience with instant torque, a silent and smooth ride, and excellent handling. Most EVs offer 200 to 300 miles of range, and some go even further on one charge. This means you can get from San Francisco to Tahoe with just a 15-minute charging break, or from San Francisco to Sacramento and back without stopping to charge. So here are a few of the most popular models that you've most likely seen around, all available for less than $40,000 before incentives. The Tesla Model 3, the Chevy Bolt, and the Nissan Leaf, which has been around for a while now, offers 226 miles of range. And let's keep going. So the Hyundai Kona and the Kia Niro are relatively new to the market, released last year. They are great utility cars and offer very fast charging. Some of you may have seen the new all-wheel drive Tesla Model Y zooming around in the last few months, pretty exciting. Currently, the long-range version is available with a 316-mile range for $49,000. So you can upgrade to a bonus third row of seats in that Model Y to fit 7 passengers. It's pretty cool, pretty compact. It's not much bigger really than the Model 3. It just is a little bit higher in the back with the hatchback. And in the luxury segment of the market, there's the Audi e-tron and Jaguar I-Pace. I've seen a lot of great deals on these higher end EVs, even though they are a little bit more expensive. The BMW i3 offers 153 miles of range, and there's also a plug-in hybrid model with a range extender that offers 126 miles electric with a gasoline engine, which adds 74 miles for a combined 200-mile range. So that's kind of an interesting model, little different. So if you absolutely cannot find an all-electric vehicle that works for you, there are many plug-in hybrids that are out there. So if you plug in to a PHEV or a plug-in hybrid every night, you may be able to cover your commute driving all electric, and you can save the gas tank just for road trips. The Honda Clarity and the Toyota Prius Prime and the Kia Niro are good choices, and they're great commuter cars because they offer a good amount of electric range. And if your family requires a larger car, the Chrysler Pacifica minivan and the all-wheel drive Toyota RAV4 offer great utility. That RAV4 is pretty recently released, so you might be seeing a couple of those around. And now we have a couple of exciting cars that are coming pretty soon. Some of them coming out at the end of this year and some of them next year. So there's the Volkswagen ID4. It is Volkswagen's first mass market EV. And Volkswagen is promising an exciting line of new EVs in the next couple of years, including the Volkswagen bus coming in a couple of years. It's going to be so cool. So Ford has put lots of resources into the Mach-E, inspired by the iconic Mustang. And people have been waiting a long time for an all-electric Volvo. It's finally coming out toward the end of this year or in the beginning of next year. Let's see. And then we have the Rivian. Some of you have checked out this car. Yeah, they did some promotional events. Rivian came out to the Bay Area earlier this year with some of these models. Yeah, the Rivian SUV and truck offer exciting new technology and excellent utility with high range, and they're both all-wheel drive. They were supposed to be released this year, but with COVID, they had manufacturing delays. So they should be available next summer. The Rivians are an exciting offering because the biggest consumer demand for cars today is for trucks and SUVs, and Rivian offers both. So as you can see, there are, oh, I want to show you one other thing. Sorry. Yeah, this is my favorite picture. This is on their website right now, like car camping Rivian style. So you can actually pull out this electric cooktop. So when you're camping, you can just cook right from your battery. It's a pretty awesome experience. I'd like to be there right now. All right, and then let's take a look at some, electric bikes that are currently available. So instead of hopping into a gas car, you can try commuting or running errands with an e-bike, and they're zero emissions and all fun. So these are a couple of popular models: the Gazelle Ultimate T10 with an electric range of 25 to 60 miles. It's easy to get on and off this bike because of its step-through frame. It uses a Bosch motor that amplifies your pedaling, and it literally gives you superpowers. It's made in the Netherlands. The Gazelle brand has been around for 100 years. It's been tested, can travel up to 60 miles on a charge, and you can bring the battery in and plug it into a standard 120 wall outlet, super easy. Then there's the Stromer. It's a super fast bike. The assist goes up to 28 miles per hour. It's great for longer rides, commuting, or when getting to places fast is important. It's integrated anti-theft GPS system with an alarm, and it's made in Switzerland. So as you can see, there are a lot of amazing electric vehicles, EVs and e-bikes available on the market right now, some exciting cars coming down the pike, and we're ready for our breakout session. Back to you, Kevin.
All right, thank you, Annika. That was great. You know, every time you start talking, I learn something. I like that about you, among many things. So thank you. All right, it is time for our first breakout session. Let me put that agenda up. The session will include EV basics, as well as the opportunity to ask an owner about the Audi e-tron, Chevy Bolt, Kia Niro, and Tesla Model 3. There's also a session about used EVs and another about e-bikes. In a moment, you'll be moving to your breakout session. It takes a few seconds. During that time, nothing will seem to be happening, but be patient and you'll arrive. Scott, our Zoom wizard, will be transporting you now. So we'll see you back here soon. I believe, though, everybody is back. So we hope you enjoyed that session. And here's a reminder that there will be 2 more opportunities to ask an owner during breakout sessions 2 and 3. They will be much shorter, only 10 minutes apiece, but that should give you ample time to ask questions. Another reminder too that you can ask questions anytime in the chat. It's the button on the bottom of your Zoom window, and there will be a live Q&A at the end of this event. All right, right now it's time to talk about batteries and renewable energy. Most everyone who owns an EV or is thinking about owning an EV has questions about batteries and the electric grid and recycling, especially as these topics are constantly evolving. Here with an update is Carleen Cullen, and right after that, Carleen has all the details on our preferred pricing campaign. So take it away, Carleen.
Okay, hi, thanks everyone. Yeah, so I think a very, very common question we get is, what about those batteries? And it's a really good question because that is, you know, the kind of, in my view, the imperfect side of EVs. So when we think about, like, when I got a Prius, however many years ago that was, you know, we got the first generation Prius. Our big question was, what about the battery and how long will it last and what happens in terms of recycling, et cetera. And, you know, with our phones and our computers, we're using batteries all the time. There's a 12-volt battery to start your vehicle, whether it's an EV or a combustion engine vehicle. So they're all over the place, but obviously as we have more and more EVs on the road, we're going to be increasing the number of batteries. So I want to talk a little bit about the downsides and a little bit about the you know, opportunities and the benefits as well. So the batteries that EVs use right now are lithium-ion batteries. That's what's in your computer and your phone, just basically more of it. And the most significant problem with the lithium-ion batteries is a mineral called cobalt, which is mined in a, you know, non-democratic country in Africa. And that's, you know, unfortunately that's true for every product that we buy that has, you know, the mobile device. So it's something that becomes more apparent when we start looking at becomes more of an issue. We start looking at EVs as well. But right now, about 72% of all of the lithium-ion batteries are for our phones and our computers and other similar devices, not for EVs. So the good news is that there is tremendous investment in battery technology. Tesla has announced that they see their way to cobalt-free batteries. And also there's a lot of these minerals that are being mined. They now have found stores of these minerals in the US and in Canada. So places where we know they'll be, you know, not that mining's ever wonderful, but that'll be in friendly places. So the batteries, then on to how long do the batteries last? So all the vehicles have at least an 8-year or 100,000-mile warranty. It's expected that they will, you know, have a full life, just like any vehicle, of 12 to 15 years. And just so you know, the batteries, when the batteries, which they will eventually degrade, when they eventually degrade, it's not a catastrophic failure. It's not that, you know, like a combustion engine vehicle, maybe, I don't even know what it is, the pistons or some, freeze. And so with this, it's just that you start to get less range. And, you know, like I said, I've been driving electrics for 7 years. I haven't even noticed any range degradation. And I think that's pretty typical for these vehicles. But eventually they will degrade to the point where if you had 250 miles and you're down to, 200, maybe you're thinking, all right, I'm ready for a new vehicle. That can go into the used market, or there's a full second life for the batteries for renewable energy. So renewable energy on the grid, I don't know if you've heard recently in California with some of the power issues, there's so much renewable energy, but not enough storage. So the batteries are now being used as a full second life, which they expect to be 15 or 20 years as storage on the grid. And after that, they're recycled. 95% of the battery can be recycled, 100% of the cobalt. So it's really a kind of a long life for something that we're mining, and that's really good news. So Annika, you can go next. All right. So last year we offered a preferred pricing campaign that was very successful, very popular, and we're coming back again to offer this. And anybody attending this event or the 2060 event has priority placement, where they'll be able to, because there's limited supplies, where they'll be able to order a vehicle, and for the first week, it'll just be people who attended our events. And then it'll be open to the general public. So typical savings that we saw last year were about 4 to 8% of the MSRP. And we've partnered with Cartelligent, that's a concierge car broker. They're doing the negotiations, they're handling all the transactions. It's what they do for business, and they're giving us, actually you, a discount as well. So we're really happy they're doing this, they're very committed. The owner's very committed to driving electric. He has had electric vehicles for several years, so that's great. The vehicles, we don't have all the deals yet, so we can't announce what they are, but we will send out to everybody on this list as soon as we have that information. They'll be available for purchase or lease. It's all new vehicles. There'll be trim kit options, etc. And you won't have to go negotiate with the dealer. Instead, the prices will be pre-published. You'll be able to know exactly what you're getting in advance. And so, yeah, last year we saved consumers about $165,000, and it averaged out to be around $2,000, a little bit over $2,000 each. So that's stacked on top of other incentives, federal and state and PG&E incentives. So, all in, you could potentially have about $13,300 off of a new EV, which is pretty great. So we're hoping that's a good incentive to look at an EV this year. Kevin, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, all right. Thank you, Carleen. As always, I continue to learn. All right. In a moment, we're going to go to our second breakout session. The session will include an opportunity to ask an owner about the Chevy Bolt, Kia Niro, and Tesla Model 3. There's also a session about used EVs and another about e-bikes. But right now, can you help us? We need your feedback. I'm going to put up a poll. We are a nonprofit, and by giving us answers to these polling questions, we can give answers to our funders. So please answer the 2 poll questions on your screen. Keep in mind that you'll have to scroll down to see the second question. There's that little bar. My screen is white. Oh no, I can see the whole thing. Lucky me. But again, this is really helpful to us. It's helpful to everyone who is involved in the movement to move to electric vehicles. I'm going to leave this poll open for a few moments and just remind you that in a moment we'll be moving to your second breakout session. All right. I'm going to end this poll in 5 seconds. We ready? Yeah, we're ready. Here we go. End poll. Is there anything we wanted to say about the event on the 26th, Carleen, Annika, or?
Sure. So if you don't know, there's such a thing as National Drive Electric Week, and it's an annual national event. And we are partnering with numerous groups. One of them is Actera. And Ariane, do you want to explain what your event will be?
Yes, absolutely. So ours will be an online financial incentive clinic. It will be conducted entirely in Spanish, and it will be for potential EV adopters who can income qualify for all of the additional rebates and grants that are available to EV purchasers.
Great. So if anybody knows people who are income qualified, I'm sure we can get you that exact information of what that is, but there's a pretty incredible program called Clean Cars for All, and you can get, help me out, Elena or Ariane, how much?
Up to $9,500 if you have an old vehicle that you are willing to retire. It's a great program.
And I'm told by the Air District also that they are soon to launch the same program, Clean Cars for All for low income, and you can get up to $7,500 towards 1 or 2 e-bikes. So that's coming, and that's also very exciting. So we know some people who've gotten EVs basically for zero. They can buy a used EV, and so if you know folks who are might be in that category, it might be people working at nonprofits who don't make any money, or people who are new college grads, or potentially retired people. So yeah, it'd be good to take a look at that.
And Carleen, I went through the process just to familiarize myself with what the process is. And it's actually pretty simple. I mean, you have to have all your paperwork and be ready to, it's almost as if you were going to sell your car. But other than that, it's a pretty simple process. I was very happy.
Okay, great. And
Carleen, there is a question about if there are any EVs that can handle a hitch-mounted bike rack. I know the Tesla Model Y can. Can you speak to that? Or?
Yeah. And the Bolt also, I'm not sure if that was part of the question. We had put a hitch on our Bolt and had a bike rack on that as well. And then the Audi can take a bike rack. I don't know if, I know the Y and the X can as well. So we could get you a comprehensive list. We can respond to that in the chat. But anytime you have a lot of weight on your vehicle, like we have on our Bolt, we had a hitch mount e-bike rack. So we put our 2 e-bikes on that, and then we'd go up to Sonoma and go ride. So it's pretty great. It definitely, with the e-bikes, are a little heavy, so it definitely reduced our mileage by probably 10 miles. But yeah, that's certainly an option.
I feel like Karen would probably say that, why do you need a bike rack when you should just drive to wherever you should bike to wherever your bike needs to be. Karen, what do you?
I did not say that. I'm here to not be anti-car.
Okay.
Because Carleen is so generously pro-electric bike, and I'm not really anti-car, really, honestly.
Do you get a lot of questions about the rack question?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very Marin specific question. We sell way more car racks in Marin than we do in San Francisco. I think a lot of people understand bicycling more from a recreational perspective in Marin, and therefore it's like you go places and you do this activity. I do often tell people the rack does not have to be part of your initial purchase. Like, buy the bike, see, it's a more expensive rack, right? It's an $800 rack. to get a really safe electric bike rack. But it doesn't have to be part of, it's not the make or break, because when you get an electric bike, suddenly that, you know, arduous 2 miles to get somewhere nice or 5 miles to get somewhere nice is no longer arduous. It's fun. It doesn't matter. You can take an alternate route. You can take the hillier route. And so it's just part of, you know, the e-bike transition is very much a cognitive transition. And that's why the new wheel exists, is because we have to help people along on that journey.
I am just glad that I'm hanging out with people who can use phrases like cognitive transition. You are about to make not a cognitive transition, but an actual transition to your breakout room, because Scott says we're ready to go. So we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes. So Carleen, we're going to need to ask you about vehicle to grid, because we were having a discussion in the time that we were waiting for you to come out of your breakout room about vehicle to grid. And we're just wondering, that is a question. Do you have kind of an update that you could provide us about where technology stands right now?
I can give you some information. I'm not an expert in this area, so, you know, the overall concept with vehicle to grid is basically that right now when our energy demands go very high and they peak, then we have to end up going out to what they call peaker plants, which are very expensive and oftentimes are very polluting. And so one of the great benefits of vehicle to grid is that basically the utilities could, if we allowed them, could use our batteries to balance that out, so that we could actually avoid having to build new plants or have all this excess power, and instead we use the storage. I was reading something the other day about vehicle to grid that was theorizing that it might end up being that the utilities actually pay us to charge and pay us to use our batteries, which makes a lot of sense, instead of us having to pay to charge, because we have this peak of energy right now in California. We have this peak of solar where we actually have to cast off the solar because we have too much coming onto the grid. So there could be incentives to charge your vehicles at a certain point. People always think, oh my God, they're going to take my energy. But the reality is you'll be able to set how much energy. Usually it'll be about 2 to 3% of your total battery capacity. So it's a really de minimis sort of impact on your range, or, you know, what you have available to you. So it's lots of really smart people are working on this, because we have these huge batteries and we need all the storage on the grid. And, you know, and our cars mostly are parked all the time. So. Right.
I see Robin Mueller has a question. Robin, did you want to ask that question with nuance and subtlety that only you can provide, or shall we just read that question?
You can just read it, it's fine.
Well, okay.
No, I'll say it. Is there it's actually probably a question for Annika. Is there a list somewhere where I can look at all the car models and filter them based on which ones will accept fast charging? If I were going to buy a used EV, I would like to get one that can fast charge, and so I don't want to look at the wrong ones.
Oh, Annika, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah. I'll add a chart to the chat and we'll send that out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Robin, realize that not all it was optional, fast charge, and a lot of vehicles like the Bolt and the Nissan Leaf, it was optional. So even a chart isn't going to really tell you. You have to call and ask or look at what they have to see if they have a fast charger.
Okay, thank you. Good point.
All right, great. So I'm guessing that Scott is getting pretty close to, Scott is nodding and saying he's ready to send you all off to your final Ask an Owner. So everybody, we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
Can I ask a question we've been having? So a lot of people, you know, it's so great, are interested in buying a used EV. And I know there's a rebate now for a used EV. Is that only from Clean Cars? Is it only if you scrap your old gas car? And is it $1,000?
I believe there are 2 different rebates, each for $5,000. They're all for income qualified people.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's $9,500 or $7,500.
That's if you scrap a car, though.
Yes, yes. From Clean Cars for All, exactly. If you have an
Sorry, were you
old-
saying scrapping a car? I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah, so what if you're not scrapping a car? Where, and you just want to buy a used EV? There's a $5,000 one?
Yeah. So we'll be sending out our buying and driving guide that has a chart with all of the different rebates and the slideshow that has lots of more detailed information about all of the rebates and incentives.
So welcome back, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the session you were just in, and we hope you've enjoyed the day so far. Are there any final questions that we can ask and answer as a group? Apparently not, which is okay. That means we've done our job. If you don't know how to save the chat and want to save the chat, just go to those three little dots in the bottom right hand of your participant window and click Save Chat. But if you forget to or don't know how, you can always ask one of us because we will have saved the chat if that's at all helpful to you. Carleen, any last words?
No, just thanks everybody for coming, and thanks to all the volunteers. Really appreciate it, and I think it was good, and we learned a lot. So we're ready for the big event on the 26th.
Yeah, come back then. We'll have fun. More fun even.
Thanks, y'all.